Hello everybody and welcome back to Bobo Foot Gaming. Today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, hope you like that, is Phasma's Omicron just completely busted for territory war? Firstly, let's talk about what this Omicron will give you. While you're in territory wars, you will additionally have a 10% chance to call a random ally to assist. So that brings your percentage chance from 20% to 30% and will mean that your first order allies will assist with a 90% chance. So essentially all of the time. Captain Phasma will have plus 100 speed, which is an insane amount obviously. Whenever a first order ally attacks out of turn, all first order allies will recover 5% health and protection. So that's essentially every turn you're going to recover at least 5% health and protection. We'll cover why that's at least as we get through the video. Also, whenever a first order ally gains advantage, they also gain 10% stacking offense for the rest of the battle. As your whole team starts with an advantage, that means that they are going to start with 10% stacking offense. And also, when a first order ally gains advantage, all first order allies gain 7.5% turn meter. That's going to mean that your whole team is going to start with 37.5% turn meter, which is a crazy amount. So when I read this Omicron and I started theory crafting what sort of team I could build with this, I wanted to look at not diminishing the power of the SLKR team to any sort of reasonable extent, and I also didn't want to use SLKR on this team, which is something people have been talking about, because the SLKR team itself is very powerful. And I feel like you can make two very good teams out of this Omicron. So the first character I wanted to look at using was Captain Phasma, obviously. Her first special will give all allies 50% turn meter, fantastic, and give them advantage. Giving them advantage will replace the existing advantage they have, thus this should actually read, give your whole team 87.5% turn meter, which is crazy. On her second turn, she will deal physical damage to all enemies with a 90% chance of inflicting speed down. And her basic, which we have in here for mainly the purpose of if she's called to assist, will try to inflict defense down on a critical hit. And if it's not a critical hit, she has a 50% chance to gain advantage, otherwise known as a 50% chance to give your whole team 37.5% turn meter. So with her kit in mind, I really wanted to set her up with a speed set and a potency set. The potency set because I want her to inflict that speed down and potentially inflict that defense down as well, but more importantly the speed down, as that will mean that your team can really take advantage of their turn meter mechanics after your initial turn meter burst. So then for the primaries, the only two that are really important for Phasma would be to have a speed primary arrow and then a potency primary cross. With this, you should be able to get her to over 100% potency, especially once you factor in her leadership giving plus 20% potency, which is going to greatly increase your chances of inflicting that speed down and that defense down. I would be looking at getting Phasma to about 250 speed. If you can get her more than that without sacrificing mods to other teams, fantastic, but 250 is really a great number for her to be at. The next character I wanted to take advantage of is the First Order Special Forces TIE Pilot, commonly referred to as the Alphabet Soup. Now this character's first special will deal special damage to all enemies and inflict defense down for 2 turns on a critical hit. The character is going to start with advantage, so it's always going to try to inflict that defense down on everyone. Additionally, all your first order units are going to gain speed up for 2 turns, which is fantastic. You're further trying to cascade that turn meter advantage by making your team faster. The other special will deal physical damage to target enemy and call another ally to assist. If target other ally is first order, they gain advantage, and thus your team gains 37.5% turn meter, and attempt to stun the target enemy for 1 turn. So if we break this down, 1, the Special Forces TIE Pilot will attack. 2, they will call another ally to assist. 3, they have a 90% chance of calling a random ally to assist. And 4, if any of those attacks crit, you're also going to call in, spoiler, the Sith Trooper to assist. So this can generate quite a lot of damage. Alphabet Soup's basic is deal physical damage to target enemy and try and inflict defense down for 2 turns. Then, if the target has defense down, gain advantage. Which, if this character is called to assist, that's great because you're potentially giving the whole team 37.5% turn meter if this character is called to assist. So for this character, I wanted again to mod very similar to Phasma with a speed and a potency set, because this character has some fantastic debuffs and also mechanics which rely on those debuffs being in place. Again, the primaries, the ones that are important, will be the speed arrow and the potency cross. The next character I was looking at was the First Order TIE Pilots. Very underused, not a great damage dealer, but actually has some nice parts of his kit for this Phasma lead. So he only has 1 special, which is to deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict offense down for 2 turns on a crit. On his first turn, he's always going to crit. If the TIE Pilot has advantage, which he will have when he uses this special the first time, he's also going to try and inflict buff immunity and health down for 2 turns. Health down surprisingly could be quite useful, as there is a potential that this team doesn't deal a lot of damage, so reducing a target's maximum hit points may really help the team get a kill, especially on those important first few turns where you're really trying to take advantage of your turn meter cascading. And the TIE Pilot's basic is deal physical damage to target enemy with a 50% chance to attack again. This chance is doubled if the TIE Pilot has advantage, and if the second attack scores a critical hit, gain advantage for 2 turns. So I really wanted to mod the TIE Pilot to have as much crit chance as possible, so he's got a great chance on his basic of getting that second attack and scoring a crit with it to further fuel the 37.5% turn meter influxes that this team can generate. So we're going for a crit chance set and a crit damage set. The crit damage set honestly could be an offense set, and that would take advantage of the stacking offense, but I felt that going for a crit damage set, as this character has no crit damage passive buff like the Sith Trooper has in his unique, I wanted to try and spike the damage before the offense would actually outbalance the scaling from crit damage. For the primaries, I wanted a speed arrow, a crit damage primary triangle, and an offense primary cross. The next inclusion I was looking for in this team was Kylo Ren. He's an often overlooked character, especially in Territory War. He doesn't really have a home, but his kit is very strong for this team. He will start by using his AoE, which is going to deal physical damage to all enemies and gain retribution. It doesn't deal a lot of damage. The retribution, it's sort of nice. It synergizes a little bit with Phasma's kit, so it's fine, but it's not a great addition. And also, because this attack cannot crit, it cannot bring in the Sith Trooper to assist, but obviously you still have the 90% assist chance from Phasma's leadership. But the important part is that he's going to give your team 25% turn meter every time he uses this ability. So more cascading turn meter for the team. And when you factor in that he can potentially reset his cooldowns when he takes damage, which applies to the damage over time effects that he's going to apply to himself, he can potentially be using this ability every turn or every other turn. So it's a lot of potential cascading turn meter for the team. The important part for modding him really is just the speed set with the speed primary arrow. And I was looking at either a health or a tenacity set for the second set. I don't think it's going to have a massive impact on how you do it. You probably want 3 protection primaries or 2 protection primaries and a tenacity cross. But really the core important part is making him as quick as you can in relation to the other characters, which we'll get into shortly. And the last character for this team, which does really take away from the SLKR team, but I don't think it takes away from it enough that it isn't justifiable to try this at least for the next Territory War and see how it goes, is to use Sith Trooper. So Sith Trooper has 2 specials. And I've done some testing with this in other game modes to see how the AI uses the specials, and it seems like if your team either is debuffed or they don't all have advantage, he will use the special which dispels all debuffs on First Order and Sith allies and grants them advantage. So we're going to work in that scenario, because if you have the turn orders lined up, as we're going to get into shortly, you should only have 2 at most characters with advantage. So he should use the give advantage special ability. Now, if he does, ignoring the text that if he has advantage, he is called to assist, this is another 37.5% turn meter influx. Fantastic. His other special will deal physical damage to all enemies, and if any of your units are defeated, it deals 50% more damage for each one. Fine. And his basic, which he's going to use a lot because he's going to assist every time any of your people crit, and they have advantage a lot, so they should crit a lot. So he's going to deal physical damage, and then he's going to get critical hit immunity if he crits. That's not fantastic second line, because all this team has critical hit immunity while they have advantage. For his sets, health or crit chance is fine as one set, but you really want offense for that second set, that 4-piece set. You want a offense primary offense primary arrow, offense primary cross, and a crit damage primary triangle. We don't want a crit damage set on the Sith Trooper because he gets crit damage from his unique. So when you combine that with the crit damage triangle, crit damage doesn't actually scale as well for Sith Trooper as offense does, especially when you factor in that every time he's going to gain advantage, he's going to gain that 10% offense from the Phasma leadership. This guy should be your big damage dealer of the team. So now let's talk about the turn order. With Captain Phasma having a base speed in the 140 range and the plus 100 speed from the Omicron, it's going to be very hard for her to not go first. And you want her to go first because of that 87.5% turn meter influx from her special. The second highest speed you want in your team is going to be First Order Special Forces TIE Pilot. He's going to inflict that defense down on the enemy team and give your team speed up, which is going to help the team go forward with both damage and taking more turns. After that, I want First Order TIE Pilot to go, just because he's a damage dealer and he may be able to take advantage of that defense down that the Special Forces TIE Pilot has then applied on someone. We then want Kylo Ren going after the First Order TIE Pilot so he can use his AoE and give us that extra influx of 25% turn meter to start getting the chain going for our second set of turns. And then last in the chain will be Sith Trooper. He is naturally faster than Kylo, but we're really trying to load him with offense at the cost of speed. We don't mind too much how fast he is, we just want him to be our big damage dealer. When we look at the speed we want and the way the AI should operate, I've put a base speed of 250 for Captain Phasma. That's not too difficult to achieve with a speed set and her having a 140-ish base speed. And then she's going to gain an additional 100 speed from the Omicron on her leadership. That's going to bring her to 350 speed. When we factor in that she's also going to gain 37.5% turn meter, she's going to have an effective turn 1 speed of 560. That is Galactic Legend level speed. I'm not saying that this team is going to be able to compete with Galactic Legends, not at all, they're very powerful. But that's just to put it into context of how fast this team is on turn 1. She will use her turn meter booster, and that's going to give all of your allies 87.5% turn meter. That means that all of your allies are now on 100% turn meter, well, above 100% turn meter, and the game should look at what their speeds are for determining who's going to go next in the order. That should then mean that automatically Special Forces TIE Pilot is going to go and put that defense down and give your team speed up. Then your First Order TIE Pilot will go and deal some damage. Then your Kylo Ren will go and give everyone on your team, bearing in mind that your First Order TIE Pilot and your Special Forces TIE Pilot have taken their turn, so they are on 0% turn meter. Kylo's going to give everyone 25% turn meter. Then your Sith Trooper is going to go, use his special, and give everyone on your team another 37.5% turn meter. So now let's look at what's happened after our team has taken their opening 1 move per character. We should all have advantage because of the Sith Trooper. We should all have speed up because of the Special Forces TIE Pilot. Phasma will be on 150% turn meter, so she's going to take another turn. But also, your Special Forces TIE Pilot, First Order TIE Pilot, and Kylo Ren will also be at 62.5% turn meter already. So they are very close to taking another turn before the enemy has even done anything. And your Sith Trooper will be at 37.5% turn meter. So if we just think about this for a second, Phasma's taken 2 turns at 560 speed. Everyone else has taken 1 turn. Your First Order Special Forces TIE Pilot, if we give him a reasonable 260 speed, and then we factor in that he's also got speed up, and that he is at 62.5% turn meter, he's essentially running his second turn at over 600 speed effectively. The same applies for First Order TIE Pilot and Kylo Ren. We are effectively looking at taking 9 character turns before the enemy takes a turn. That's how well that this team is going to cascade. Potentially even more than that, if Kylo Ren gets a reset, if anyone procs advantage, etc, etc. This is the lower limit of what this team is going to be capable of in terms of turn meter cascading if they are uninterrupted. This number is scary. There are some potential counters though. So we should consider how we're going to beat this team if someone sets it on defense. So one potential option is General Grievous with BB-8. This is going to be very dependent on how fast your BB-8 is in relation to how fast their Phasma is, because if you don't go first, you're going to have some problems. So maybe you find some badly modded Phasmas, or maybe your BB-8s are super fast. But because the turn meter gains from the Phasma team and the BB-8 on a full droids team are comparable, it's plausible that this team could go first and could cascade turns. I wouldn't say this is a hard counter by any stretch of the imagination, but I could see a realm of possibility where this team could win. Another option is Commander Luke Skywalker with Han Solo. Now, Han Solo, you would want to stun that Captain Phasma to slow the team down. Yes, everyone still has 37.5% turn meter, but maybe you can cascade resists and turn meter enough because of the way CLS works, especially in combination with C-3PO, that you can stop them going off. You can interrupt that chain and really take over the match. Again, we don't know if this is really going to work, but theoretically it can have a chance. Another option, quite an expensive one, Darth Revan Sith Empire with Darth Malak. The team using AI is going to AoE. It's going to have advantage. It's going to crit Malak, and it's going to get feared. The second the team gets feared, all that turn meter goes to waste. Then, when Revan gets a turn, he's going to get that fear on everyone because this team doesn't have a tank. Really slow it down. Also, I suspect it's going to have just a monumental problem of ever killing Malak. Maybe not, but that's how I see this going. I could see a Darth Revan team giving it the business. So 3 more teams that could potentially work. Padme Amidala. The assists fueling their protection up and their protection up preventing them being crit is going to really help this team endure the onslaught that the Phasma team is going to bring to the table to start with. Potentially, it's going to bring enough survivability that the Phasma team can't get a kill, and then you can knock people out with the courage stacks. It is plausible that this doesn't work because maybe the Phasma team takes too many turns, ramps too much offense, and then deals too much damage. But I would probably hedge that Padme is a pretty good counter here, and of the counters we've looked at so far, the cheapest in terms of team investment. Another non-GL team we can use here, though this is as close as a GL team as you can get, would be General Skywalker 501st. I'm not sure the Phasma team can deal enough damage to both knock down gas and then capitalize on that by killing people while he's toppled. Additionally, AI is generally not great at prioritizing non-5s targets, and once, say, it kills Rex, which procs the 5 sacrifice, the 501st team is going to get a load of juiced up stats. It's going to get that General Skywalker standing up faster, and that AoE days from General Skywalker is really going to slow down this team. In fact, AoE days fantastic against this team, full stop. The last option would be Darth Traya. In a similar fashion to how Darth Traya beats Geos, it's plausible that this team attacks out of turn so much and doesn't heal enough from those attacks out of turn that it's not going to line up well with the drains from Darth Traya. Especially as the heal is only for... No, the heal is for all of them, so that's fine. But I don't think it's going to line up well with how Darth Traya's leadership works. And also, Malik is particularly tanky, may not be able to burst him down. You have the interrupt on your specials chain from Nihilus, who is also going to gain that passive turn meter from allied Traya and Scion getting crit. This team could work. This might not work. It might be that your team can outscale the Traya team easily. It's really unsure at this point, again, because this is very much theory crafting, but I could see an avenue where Darth Traya could work. The problem with all of these counters, though, is that they're expensive, or that they change your TW strategy. Gas is a very powerful team. Do you really want to use it on Phasma? Do you want to take it off of defense if you have it on defense? Darth Revan, exactly the same. Do you want to use it on Phasma? Do you want to take it off of defense? CLS, very universal team. Great against so many teams. Do you want to have to try and use it against Phasma? GG, a common defense team. Again, do we want to take that off of defense to potentially fight a team that maybe the opponent's guild doesn't even have? So really, the counter I would be looking at, without trying to hurt the way my guild generally would play TW, would be to look at a Padme Amidala counter, if you can make that work. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you found this theory crafting on the Phasma Omicron for TW interesting, enlightening, and gave you something to really think about for you and your guild for the upcoming TW. If you did, please give it a like, comment, and subscribe. And feel free to share with anyone your guild, your arena shards, and you can join my Discord server, which is linked in the description, where we'll be talking about things like this and many other aspects of the game constantly. See you next time.